My guest is here. He is the former minister. He is the former leader of the Independent Liberal Party he founded. He is the publisher of the Sunshine newspaper. He is no stranger. Let me just welcome Mr. Jack Warner. Mr. Warner, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Thank you, Rennie. Thank you, Trying to be here.
It is good to have you here. LifeSport is what we're talking about. It was the brainchild of Sports Minister Anil Roberts. It is reported to be one of the most expensive social programs in Trinidad and Tobago, which was designed to target criminals. An audit had uncovered that the program was riddled with financial irregularities, had coordinators with criminal backgrounds, massive fraud, millions misspent, millions of dollars, ghost centers, ghost participants, improper procurement. They said that over the period, the life of this, it cost, spent on it, it initially had a budget of $6.5 million. It was reported $267 million was spent, right up to 216, but more accurate figures put forward say that we're talking about $400 million. You were a part of the PP government. One of the areas I want to ask here is, how was this sort of situation allowed to go on? We had cases very clear where the misconduct was there. We also had, how could this report go to the Parliament, Mr. Warner? How could this pass muster in the cabinet before it was taken to the Parliament? And nobody said, no, you've got to stop. I know you did. I mean, just to be fair, the current leader of the ILP, Rika Ramjit, reminded everybody that back in 2014, long before the conclusion of the audit, you called the LifeSport audit a sham, and you said that persons were not given the opportunity to be interviewed, and that is a procedural misstep. You did say also it is not mere coincidence.
And I stand by that up to today, Rennie. The fact is, this was a deliberate ploy which the Kamala Prasad Bisesa government imposed on the country and wanted to dismiss away $400 million. Let me just take you back for a few minutes.
Please.
A few years. In 2011, I was Minister of Works and Transport. Under me, you had an institution called PURE, and PURE is the organization responsible for government projects throughout the country. $500 million, $1 billion, they spend it. I was being pressured to get contractors to make donations to the party, and I refused. And the cabal got with the Prime Minister and decided to suspend PURE and to do an audit for 5 months by this very same Central Audit Committee. For 5 months, nothing happened in the Ministry of Works and Transport because they were auditing PURE.
And the audit of PURE, if just for clarity or reiteration, the audit of PURE was prompted, you say, because the contractors were being asked to do a kickback, and that was not happening.
That is correct, and I refuse. I refuse staunchly. And I want to say, when it came to cabinet, they said they want an audit. I said, go ahead. And this was led by the AG, Lamlogan, the other members of the cabal, and the Prime Minister. 5 months, nothing happened in the country. And this Central Audit Committee, for 5 months, did not ask the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works and Transport a single question. One of the best PSAs this country has ever seen. Not a single question. Never asked me a single question. So when it came to cabinet, I said, look, this is a farce. How could this be an audit when no questions, no interview of any kind were asked of me or of the Permanent Secretary? I repeat, the best, one of the best we ever had in this country. And they said, well, listen, we won't take it further, but we shall reopen PURE. But of course, watch yourself. That is all. I then said to them, this cannot be right, because this Central Audit Committee has been a ploy, has been a vehicle used by the People's Partnership Government to do their bidding. And I don't know if it's the same thing with this present government. What I do know, that was the role and function of that committee under Larry Hawaii and under Mrs. Prasad Bisesa.
The voice you're hearing is that of Mr. Jack Warner, former acting Prime Minister and Minister.
And I acted 5 times, eh?
Five times
Five times.
in the PP administration. So on the one hand, there is question about presenting this report knowing that procedurally all the parts were not followed. But you just mentioned that the Central Audit Committee's audit in itself you thought was a farce.
That is correct. That is correct. I said so. And I said that this committee is a pawn, a tool of the government. I said to them, it can't be right. They just dismissed me completely. And why? It's because the contractors, I said the contractors must not give any kickback to the government. That was it. And therefore the audit pure, nothing came of it. It's the same committee, therefore, they then use to audit LifeSport, hoping and knowing full well that the procedure was wrong. Bringing it to Parliament to fool the nation, and hoping that by this time, this would have gone the way it has gone. Now, what is even, for me, even laughable is the fact that this was a matter brought to the court by the PS and Ashwin Creed, not Anil Roberts. But the guy who is blowing his trumpet throughout the country is Anil Roberts. He never brought it before the court, was Ashwin Creed. And your lawyer friend who left here a while ago, he is correct. What this has done, simply said, is that the procedure was wrong, but the merits of the case still stand. The merits still stand.
You were saying that the leader of the opposition, who read the statement in Parliament, you are saying that the leader of the opposition, the former Prime Minister, complicit in a cover-up.
That is, I say so. And
thwarting justice.
And I know there are plenty of lawyers who, of course, who can be used conveniently, and therefore I am open to be sued on that. But I say so deliberately. It was a cover-up. And when this full thing is exposed, Rennie, let me talk very slowly. When this full thing is exposed and ventilated, you will see many other persons and ministers involved in LifeSport than meet the eye at this point in time. Mark my words again.
Jack Warner is our guest on Brunch this morning. I want to talk and stay behind the ball so we get a full understanding of some of the players in here. Let's talk about the $34 million man, Adolphus Daniel. Daniel's company, E-Beam Interact, was a sole select. It was selected based on recommendations of former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sport, Ashwin Creed. On September 2012, Daniel submitted a proposal to the ministry to teach mathematics and English in the LifeSport program throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the cost of the 2-year program was $7.5 million for the first year and $4.5 million in the second year, a total of $12 million. What happened, however, 2 months later, on November 4th, 2012, he resubmitted a revised cost of $11 million for the first year and $11 million for the second year, a total of $22 million. And the funny part about this is that no material changes were made to the proposal. Help us understand why this was not seen and objected to more loudly by members of the cabinet, if this is correct. First of all, is this correct?
It is correct. But to go further, he had submitted a proposal for $12.2 million. Then he went and resubmitted for $11 million for 2 years. So 2 by 11 is 22. He took the 22 and added the 12. He got 34 and submitted that. And that was paid. Nowhere in the history of this country, or in fact the Western Hemisphere, I challenge you, you can find such financial absurdity as what transpired there. Nowhere. And at the time, the minister was a banker. And this was allowed to take place in the cabinet. I say again to you, Rennie, when this has been ventilated, you will see many more players who in the cabinet who were involved in this matter.
For those who are not familiar with this, understand that the reason we are going to spend the time on this is a former acting prime minister 5 times, the founder of the party and former leader of the ILP. He is Jack Warner. He is my guest this morning. We're looking into not just the ruling of the judge, which we will get to some of that later on when we get to Mr. Anil Roberts, but we're just looking at the behind the weeds, as it were, behind the crease, looking at what's happening in the bullpen. E-Beam Interact is distributed by U.S.-based Ludia Inc., which Daniel Educational System Limited being its sole Trinidad distributor. E-Beam Interact was registered in 2007 by attorney Allison Eustace Luther Roberts of Roberts and Company. He is the father of former sports minister Anil Roberts. How was it possible that these things continued to go unchecked? I mean, what is it? Folks thought that Trinidadians were asleep. I mean, what happened here?
The same way you had a cabal in the party, you had a cabal in the cabinet. And the cabal in the cabinet, they allow these things to go, and you dare not say a word because they will, of course, chastise you. That's what happened. I want you to ask the nation how the $34 million came about. How did it come about? Because at no point in time the figures add up. How did it come about?
Well, I'm asking you because the public have asked the same questions.
And I'm saying to you, when he first submitted 12.7 million, and then he went back to revise his figures to $11 million for each year of the 2 years, he had all the figures together. And he said, look, pay me for what I submitted first, which he rejected. Pay me the $11 million for the first year and $11 million for the second year. Where in God's world, Rennie? Where in the world can this ever happen? And people are laughing at this country. And people here in this country are catching their nenen to make ends meet.
No work was done and he was
Not
paid.
a single thing was done. And what is even more painful is the guy up to now has shown no sense of remorse.
You have said, if you want to sue me, sue me.
Sue me?
Because you said comfortable on what you're presenting here this morning.
Oh, very. You see, if we will get some of them in the court
Yes.
to raise this matter, I'll be glad.
Well, Jack Warner is our guest this morning. How deep, you say this will go deep and people will be surprised. How deep do you believe this will go, sir?
Well, let me just tell you. My grandmother always told me, when a fish starts to rot, it begins at the head. I say no more.
No more needs to be said. Do you anticipate very soon we will see charges, or are you, like many folks seem to say, no matter how I turn and remind folks that we've got to make a start somewhere, and I speak of my optimism that something will be done, it seems as though a resignation in Trinidad and Tobago that nothing will come of it. Are you as optimistic as I am, or do you share that pessimism?
I must confess I am becoming more and more pessimistic because I have seen no signs of any kind by this present government wishing to go after those miscreants who robbed this country. It seems as if the relevant departments and ministries, like molasses going uphill, and I can't understand it. How guys who on the platform during the election had all the evidence, all the facts, all the statements, and now you're in government, you have become comatose.
But I do have to ask this question of you, and I know at the earliest opportunity I will direct it at the parties of the present government, but I must ask you this. Folks say it is one thing to have suspicion and a lot of reports coming at you, but when you're ready to take this to court, you must have documented proof of what you're saying. It is no longer he say, she say, he suspect, and I know this one who got so and so, but you've got to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted before you go there and make a case that falls apart really quickly.
That might have been so, and that might have impressed me if I did not have examples of investigations taking 3 and 4 and 5 years. Where is Prison Gate? Where is Email Gate? Where is Annan Gate? And so on. And this goes on. And therefore, I'm saying that is an excuse. Because if you want to really press a case, it doesn't take you 15 months to find evidence.
Jack Warner is my guest. We have led up thus far to where we are with LifeSport. He says a lot of buildings will come down. This goes very deep, and the rotting fish starts at the head. We will see about that. I do want to get with you, sir, in the area of a gentleman you're very familiar with, because he said to the Prime Minister on his birthday, I am back and I am your present. My guest is Mr. Jack Warner, who is the founder of Sunshine Newspapers. That's available for you to pick up and peruse. Usually very interesting read. We were sitting down and waiting for the Attorney General and for justice to take his course, and waiting to see what happens coming out of the LifeSport situation. But Justice Mira Dean Amor ruling that the Finance Ministry audit of LifeSport was unfairly completed is what brought this right back up. And Mr. Warner was in a position right in the belly of the beast, as a manner of speaking, and knows exactly what took place. So in the heart of things, some would prefer that I say. I must ask you, sir, to give me the details of how this corruption was done in LifeSport.
Well, I don't have all the details because, as I said, it's a small clique, and I was kept outside of that.
You were not part of that clique.
All I know is that checks were cut left, right, and center, paid to ghost companies that were not even VAT registered. Some of them had names as Dustbin Terrier and all these kinds of things and so on. I mean, names are laughable. In fact, I recall a company in Tobago was paid for cutting grass in Carapo and in Point Forte. So I asked the question in Parliament. I said this company came from Tobago, jumped on a plane, came with his whacker, cut Carapo, went to cut Point Forte, and then put the whacker on the plane and went back to Tobago. Paid them $375,000. Rennie, in Parliament, I raised all these things. I call companies, I call figures. In fact, my political leader, Mrs. Rika Remchit from the ILP, she also had a program recently, and she also spoke about these figures and these companies. So the facts are there, the documents are there, and one has to commend Captain Gary Griffith for being brave enough to go after this and to reveal it. Many a person would have cowed and bowed down, but he went after them, and of course, he to pay a price eventually.
So he holds your respect.
Highly, very highly. In fact, it's because of him, in a sense, this whole thing is where it is today.
The ministers were not detected. People saying, you were saying there was not a question of detected. There was of detection. There was a case of a wink and a nod. Everybody knew what was going on. Is that your?
That is correct. Everybody in this small clique inside the cabinet. And let me tell you something. In this cabinet, you had people who had silk, SC, and as a friend told me just now, they shouldn't have be given silk. Should be given cotton, because how could you be an SC, silk? And these things pass over your eyes.
You knew the procedural law. You said, listen, guys, this is not happening.
I said so.
But the people, and there's a whole lot of attorneys, you're quite right about that. I'm going to leave LifeSport, as a total package, as something that I will be patient on. But I do want to ask you, I don't think I'm leaving it. I'm going to take a component of it out.
I hope, do you leave LifeSport this morning? The country doesn't leave it. I really hope so.
That's right. We're not leaving it at all. Appearing on the UNC platform last Monday, Anil Roberts said, "Mere hours after the ruling, I am back." Now, as I understand it, and you may want to educate me, I'm a little slow on Sunday mornings. These things like an appearance does not just happen within hours of a ruling from the court. These are things that you plan. Did they know something about the verdict that we did not know?
It is not unusual for them to know about a verdict in advance. It's not unusual. We have some very crafty people here at the highest level of the legal bar, so to speak, and they can know about it. And therefore, I'm not surprised that mere hours after he appeared. What I'm surprised about is that he was able, that he appeared at all. Because here you had the political leader of the UNC, silk, not cotton, silk they say, knowing that of course they nowhere at all he's vindicated, put him on a platform, galleries to the nation, promises to put him in the Senate, with total abandonment for respect for the people, the integrity of this community and so on. What is wrong? Really, something has to be wrong.
Yes.
Something has to be wrong. And there's not a single person who was on that stage or who in her cabinet or who in her executive who could tell her, Madam opposition leader, Madam political leader, what you're doing is not right.
Well, one of the things that I find really amazing is that the former Minister of Finance in the PP government, Caroni East, Representative Bo Tiwari, calls it ill-advised and precipitous. He said the UNC must convince the country that it stands for something. The former Trade Minister, Stephen Cadiz, said Roberts was tarnished, and the opposition leader showed her judgment is totally off, and she had no right to be political leader or prime minister as a result of that.
Well, that's the first correct thing Kelly said in 5 years. so I saw it too. I wanted to commend him. He was bang on target. Botiwari is speaking now from the position of a safe seat given to him. So he feels that for the next 5 years, he's okay and she can't do anything. Had it been different, he wouldn't say a word either. You look at the guy from St. Augustine, Prakash Ramada, you get in trouble to know what he has said. Up to know what he has said as leader of the COP.
Yes.
As part of the partnership, what has he really said?
Well, Maharaj, I know, who is the head of the COP, also condemned the appearance of Anil Roberts on the platform. Tell us about Anil Roberts and why you don't think he is fit to be where he is.
Look, Anil Roberts was my friend. Hard worker. When he used to be on another station, daily attacking the government, I joined him in that as well. But I never thought that the very same thing that he attacked, the very same level of dishonesty and lack of integrity in the government that he attacked, I never thought that one day he would have found himself subsumed in that. And I'm saying, therefore, that until that perception is removed, right? Until you have proven yourself, you stay quiet.
Everyone is still innocent until proven guilty.
Stay quiet.
But until such a time.
Stay quiet. And let the law take its course.
Yes.
You don't come out and behave and you are going after Rowley and the PNM I mean, you behaving as if, of course, you have won the matter. You haven't won it. You have not won the matter.
And that seems to have been, even before I returned to Trinidad, looking in, that seemed to be the modus operandi. It's almost Trump-like that folks are saying what you're getting when you hear the toilet flush is water from Wassa and not from the toilet. They always try to tell you what you're getting is different from what you know you're getting.
That is correct. That is very correct. Very correct. And I don't know how much law can politics in this country go. I really don't know. A
lot of folks are kind of wholesome optimism that these corrupt practices, these alleged corrupt practices, the misdeeds that they have seen will come to before a court at some point. How optimistic are you about that? In general, the LifeSport included, but many others.
I think LifeSport may come. I don't think many others will. I think these guys are laughing all the way to the bank. I think they believe that they have tricked the nation, they have caught us. I believe that some people are saying, rightly or wrongly, that the PM government is saying it's their time now, and therefore it's a tit for tat situation. I look on and wait and see.
Well, move along and talk on the street is very easy. So,
sure.
You know, we take that with a grain of salt. Sure. I want to take you to one of the ministries that you led, which is Works.
Yes.
There's the feeling that a lot of corruption happened, and we are still paying for, and folks are not called to account for the corruption in Wassa itself. Speak to that, if you will, sir. About a lot of contracts being issued, a lot of favored contractees, and they were always there to get paid first, some of the allegations being made.
Wassa has been corrupt from inception. And this is not any enlightening news to anybody. And successive ministers are aware of it, and they added to it. And therefore, what Wassa is today, emerged as today, is what has been happening over the years. And therefore, what I'm saying is, you reap what you sow. What is so at Wassa? Let me give you one example. At one point in time, Wassa had 4,700 workers, or thereabouts. Wassa gave about 700 VSEP and sent them home because they were overstaffed. Less than 1 year later, they had over 5,000 workers. I mean, what are you saying? What are you saying? And contracts there, people tell you, are riddled, of course, with corruption.
But Mr. Warner, how did you fight against that, stand up against that? What was initiated during your tenure there to reverse that course of quote-unquote corruption?
Wassa never came under me as minister. A minister of Works and Transport. It came under public utilities.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
And I was very particular not to go into people's turf, so to speak. But I'm saying what we knew of Wassa, then everyone knew. And therefore it was no secret. And therefore it's not I had to do. It was public knowledge. Wassa, like so many others, it was public knowledge.
One of the areas that has caused the greatest disquiet among the general public is not only LifeSport, but the series of things. It is not limited to something that you commented, and I think it was in 2013. I want to move a little into the area of something you looked at, which is in the judiciary, with the question of the folks on remand. You said it is inhumane for people to be held in the manner they are without having access to justice. You were speaking of the remand yard. During your time there, was anything done to ease that situation?
Rennie, I said 5 years ago, I said 3 years ago, I said 1 year ago that there should be a court in the remand yard and that people should be tried up there. I said stop all this transportation justice in time, where of course you spend almost billions in transporting prisoners to court to hear the case has been postponed. I said it is counterproductive. I mean, but there are people who, for reasons best known to them, want to keep the transportation of prisoners on the front burner. Okay, so be it, if the country wants that. I have seen, I've heard up to 3 weeks ago in Parliament, a member of the Parliament is now saying, put a court in the remand yard. That was said 5 years ago by me. 3 years by me, a year by me. I also made the point, Rennie, why can't the court work shift system? Why can't you have, when we had a problem in education, Dr. Williams opened a shift system in schools. Why can't you have a shift system in the courts so you could try cases more quickly? And when the backlog is over, then you become normalized.
I was one of those to be in concert with that, and the Chief Justice shut that down.
Yes, of course he will.
We don't fly with eagles.
That's right, he will. Right? Why don't magistrates go to court on time from 9 instead of 10:30? Why don't they? And so on. Why don't they work till 3 or 4, as the case may be? And I know I'm putting myself out there because at the end of the day, I may have to face some of them. But so be it. I have no problem with that.
The ILP, the political party that you founded, is taking part in local elections.
Oh, yes,
upcoming.
most definitely.
How optimistic are you, one, for the future of the party? I know you are the founder. Of course there will be optimism. Of course you're working towards it. But realistically, do you think the ILP is making the inroads necessary for it to be a viable? It has nothing to do with the plans of the organizations. They may be noble and they may be good. But as far as getting the message to the electorate, how viable, how much of an impact, rather, would you say the ILP is making that would have some manifestation of that progress in the upcoming local elections?
First of all, let me say, all the seats they are going to fight, they should win about 90% of them. If plans go as they are, I don't see reasons why they can't go. And I'm saying also, too, we have reached a stage in this country, a kind of political nadir, so to speak, in this country, where the country has become disenchanted with the present government, and they are totally against the one that left. So therefore neither UNC nor PNM is giving them what they want. I mean, Rennie, there's a kind of hopelessness outside there. People, Rennie, are not smiling anymore, as if this country has not become as if a kind of strange land, a kind of paradise lost. And therefore, you will find that more and more they'll gravitate towards the ILP, because the ILP will give them the kind of balance that they're looking for. It will take time. I mean, politics.
Everything does.
It's not like Nescafe. There's no quick fix. Right? No for no fix. It takes time. It takes hard work. And I must confess that the present political leader is committed to hard work. She is, of course, by profession an attorney, and she is doing fantastic. In fact, as I leave here, I'm going to see her now, where she's meeting people at the office in Shogunas.
But in time, and probably in time for the next general election, you believe the ILP will be well poised?
Most definitely.
You speak of the feeling of hopelessness as a former minister, as one involved in politics. Do you think there is any credence to the argument that 1 year of the new government, they are reaping what is a compound situation? Folks come out of some chaos, as you mentioned, as many people have said, a lot of confusion, and then expect a quick fix at a time when money has seriously, the revenue of the country is seriously down. Would you say that is a situation why you had the manifestation of the frustration, not necessarily with the direction or lack of direction of the current regime, but as an accumulation of 5 years plus?
That's part of the answer. But you also must bear in mind that the public still resents the fact that they feel that the present ministers are talking down to them. They resent the arrogance of the present lot of ministers. They know for a fact that many of them are inexperienced, and therefore the cabinet is one that is lacking in many ways. They are aware of this. What they can't take is the arrogance. What they can't take is that nothing seems to have changed in terms of the fortunes of the people. The same guys who have been, all they have done so far is to exchange one set of rich guys at the top to put the present batch of rich guys at the moment. So what the people are saying, Rennie, is what has happened is that you have exchanged Tweedledum for Tweedledee. Nothing more than that.
But there are those who may argue that the ILP also has a lot of inexperienced people.
The ILP, that's why it's a small party. And that's why I'm saying again, it takes time. And we are not in a hurry. It takes time. And we will build. We didn't want, of course, to rush into any situation until we are fully prepared for it. And in any event, the ILP as presently constructed is much better prepared than the opposition is at the moment.
11:39 on time in the morning time. You're having brunch on 107. You remind me a part of your journey. Remind me. I know you remember Yul Brynner and the King and I give you life and I can take it.
That's right.
And parts of you remind me of that when you said, "I give you all this person, I will take out this person." That you succeeded in doing. It does raise the question then, looking at the politics of the UNC, looking at the interwrangling of the UNC, let me ask you then, what kind of future you see happening there? And what you see coming out, in addition to your ILP, what you see coming out of what seems to be a situation poised for a revolution of sort?
Yesterday, I was by a friend in Marabel having some Diwali reception, as it were, refreshments, entertainment. And we're talking politics. And I asked him the same question. And he said to me, you know, what he said to me something that I must confess struck me deeply, and which I must confess is the answer you're asking for. I said to him, what's happening to you, UNC boy? Why it is they have gone so low, and so on? He said to me, Jack, that whole bunch, the entire bunch has to go and build afresh and bring in some young people, some bright minds. He said until they do that, they will die. He said the UNC is just as West Indies cricket. Jack, they will die. He said that to me last night. And believe me, he's totally correct.
And you agree with that. A lot of folks, Jack Warner is the voice you're hearing this morning. We are fortunate to have him here, 5 times acting Prime Minister, Minister of two portfolios Also the founder of the ILP and now the publisher of and continuing to be rather, the founder and publisher of the Sunshine newspaper. During that LifeSport period, that was the basis we got together on, many say that a lot of the money that passed through that era and that initiative finance a lot of the guns we see on the streets and a lot of the drug running on the streets. Do you agree with that?
I agree, but I go one step further.
Please.
And it also accounted for several of the murders which took place in the East, particularly in Karapo area. It's a fact. It's a fact. It is a fact. So we are now reaping what, of course, we have sown. And that is what is happening. And there are people out there who will call names for you and places and so on. I don't want to do it here. I won't do it. That's not my business. But there are people out there who know the truth of the matter, have the facts, and they're willing to speak. And why no one is speaking with them, I just don't know. But there are people out there who are willing to speak, Rennie.
They are willing to speak, but they are not finding willing ears to receive them?
That is correct. And they are also afraid if they speak. If they speak, then the people to whom they speak will then tell them, say who they are, and that will be the end of them.
Wonderful that you opened the door there, because when you held the portfolio of Minister of National Security, that's instructive for my follow-up question here. Many feel that the security service in the country has been heavily infiltrated by bad actors. Did you find that when you were there? And if you did, what you believe has not been done to correct that can be done?
Not under my watch. I will tell you, not under my watch, Rennie. I have no evidence that was done. In fact, I will tell you, I began work at 4 every morning, and at 5 a.m. Every Monday, I will call all the heads of the security, and they'll give me an account of the work that they did for the past week. And then they'll tell me what they plan to do for the week to come. And therefore, I'll have some kind of link to show that, of course, there's continuity. In other words, I'm speaking to you, they had to be held accountable. I want to know how many men you have outside there, how many murders were solved, why we didn't so and so, how many traffic accidents took place, how many road deaths, what time of the day. They had to report these things to me.
But that accountability does not necessarily lead into the area of bad actors moving in place and doing what they're doing.
Oh, there were some bad actors who were discovered.
Oh, you did discover.
And those who were discovered, not too many, but those who were discovered were removed.
There are many in that same area that speak of the ports and the lack of control over there, and people who work for $10 living in $25 houses and that sort of thing. Did you find that as an issue?
That is also true. And they have people who work for $10 driving Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and so on. And again, the police know who they are. I have made the point when I was Minister of National Security, just before I demitted office. I made the point to them. I said, put police, an army post, an army post in the Carcass, in Losiro, in Cedros, in Madlot. I said you could put police army posts at these various locations, and as it were, encircle the country as it were, so you can have an idea of what illegal arms are coming in. To this day, no, that was said by me about a month before I had to leave, and to this day, I'm not aware that has been done. When I said put a consulate in Venezuela, in that place you call it how you call it again?
Margarita, where everybody goes.
That's correct.
Yes, that's right.
Put a consulate there because guns are coming from there, and put a consulate there. You staff it with special service officers and so on. You have an idea what's happening. Nothing is taking place. Nothing. If you find 10, if the police sees 10 weapons, 10 guns on the street, it's because 90 remain, and therefore they can't really make any dent in the reduction of arms in the country. And in some ways, I'm saying, I am hoping that even by this program, those who are listening will take heed.
Initiatives are being signed, agreements are being signed. One was made for cooperation with neighboring countries. Are you optimistic that in fact will assist in this area?
Agreements are paper. What is important is the implementation.
The will to do.
Yes. To do it.
Yes, 11:45 on time. The question of those who are making $10 and living $25 lifestyles is something that we are going to discuss as we continue our discussion. Privileges we are this morning to have Jack Warner with us. We'll return with that discussion in just a moment. It is Brunch on 107.7 in the morning. It is good to have you here. A lot of folks trying to understand when you talk about making $10 and living $25 lifestyle does not necessarily mean that you do it in one place. No. It means you can, in fact, have what my earlier colleague in Barbados called, he said it was the Bajan invasion culturally in Trinidad and Tobago. Some folks are saying the economic invasion of places like Miami has been happening. So the Trini invasion on U.S. property has been going on for a while.
That's right.
And it's along that line that folks are saying, what is the objection? What was the objection initially to signing and having implemented the Fatca request from the United States? And what is the objection right now with doing it? Some feel that there is more in the mortar than the pestle, and folks are afraid that if you take the mortar out, you get the stench. How do you feel?
My only concern about Fatca is I see that the U.S. government, as always, is imposing its will and asking the government here to do its work for them. So the government here has to report to them the accounts people have for tax purposes, blah, 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 and so on. And all I ask, Rennie, is it that there's some degree of reciprocity in this? Will the U.S. government do the same for Trinidad and Tobago government? Tell them how many persons from this country have accounts in the U.S., what properties they have, and where they have them and so on, so that we too could have similar information and tax them as well, and even find out where the money come from?
Well, that's the reciprocal part of signing a Fatca agreement. Because the U.S. government has been asking people for a long time. They're the biggest economy in the world. Yeah. They're going to tell you what you're going to do. Yeah. That's why they have templates that they say choose option 1 or option 2. And usually, you don't argue with them. Those who have tried to argue with them come out of the wrong end of the stick.
There's some degree of reciprocity. That's all I want to make sure.
But the reciprocity, I think that is what folks are concerned about.
I'm happy signing in the morning, but they must have reciprocity. That's all.
Yes, whatever you ask of us to provide you for your citizens who are owning stuff here, when we say give us a list of what our people own there,
that's right.
You want to be sure that is in there.
Boy, I tell you.
Well, at the end of the day,
that will be the day.
It seems as though that is the one that folks are worried about.
I can understand that.
Because a lot of the concern that you have expressed that happened in the last administration, if the street talk is correct and the allegations are to be followed through to some degree of closure, the Fatca, with that sort of request, that sort of reciprocity, is in fact going to clarify a lot of that and bring a lot of people to account.
Yep.
Many people have said, Mr. Warner, that the corrupt practices you see happening, that you articulate now, happened in the PP government. They say that, is in the latter part of his time with this party, he came out and started speaking against it.
I left the party in 2013, April or May thereabouts, and I've been speaking inside the party before that.
That is the
and that's where I should speak. So they can't say that they don't know. They don't know how many meetings I've held with the Prime Minister based on corrupt advice I've been given. I went so far to tell you this, I'll tell you this already. I went in a particular case of a police officer in the South who of course, I have evidence that he was involved in some criminal dealings and so on. I went to the deputy commissioner of police and reported him. You know something? He was promoted from corporal to sergeant. That's where he is now. So I do this by I do have to put this on the mountaintop. I report inside the party, and when I left, I began to report it outside. Simple as that.
You will forgive me for a rhetorical question, because it is rhetorical. I can see the smile on your face before I even ask it. How do you explain the opposition's leader fierce defense and promotion of Mr. Anil Roberts?
Madness. That is madness personified. I mean that is an insult to the intelligence of this country. It is something that is, to me, is unforgivable, and I don't know how she will counter that.
You are a political leader yourself. I mean, how does one, as was described, defend the indefensible? I mean, there must be some reason why you do this.
Do what?
Why you would stand out to defend the indefensible. You would stand up to support, not you particularly, I'm saying one, would move to support so vigorously.
You see, this country is polarized, Rennie. Basically by race. African one way, Indian another way, and IRP in the middle. Right? So therefore you will find that those situations. As long as you have this kind of polarization, racial polarization, you can do what you want. You can do what you want. UNC will get, some people feel that UNC will get 15 seats automatically, PR will get 17, and the balance they have to fight for. Because of the racial polarization, and this has to change. And this has to change. And I repeat, this is what the ILP is about.
Everybody found out about Jack Warner in politics because he joined up with the PP. But before that, there was Jack Warner, the household name, in relations to FIFA. There is an extradition request made by the United States. The Trinidad and Tobago, they have acquiesced to that taking place. There are some issues going on. Give us the 411. Give us the update. What is going on with that extradition request? And where is Jack Warner today?
Without dealing with the substantive matter since it's in the court, let me just tell you briefly, however, that the matter is, we have filed for judicial review on the matter for a series of reasons, which I needn't go into now. Yeah,
but just detail for our listeners, what is judicial review?
And judicial review means that the procedure which the U.S. Employed to come after me here was wrong, and that the government at the time, under Mr. D.G. Anramlogan, was wrong to acquiesce with it. The same way the justice ruled on the procedure with the LifeSport matter, we are saying again the procedure was wrong, and we are asking the judge, Justice James Aboud, to rule on that, and that's where we are at the moment. I want to make the point quite clear, however. FIFA is a private organization, over 100 years old. I've been there for 22 years or 23 years. And up to now, I can't see how FIFA's business, right? I can be charged by the US for FIFA's business. But that's another story. I won't go into more detail, but I repeat that FIFA...
So after the judicial review, on the heels of what you just said, I can expect to see a jurisdictional issue coming up.
Well, I have the best lawyers, so let me put it this way. I will leave that to them. But I have some of the best lawyers.
And the saga continues, and surely it will. Jack Warner, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. There are a number of issues we have raised. Your publication is the Sunshine newspaper. I find it a very interesting read, whether I agree or not. I find it a rather interesting read.
It's the best. That's what every dollar you pay for it.
Yes, so that's the Sunshine newspaper. If you had to do an overview of the country in conclusion, if you had to do an overview as to the expectations of, and it has nothing to do with the PNM, the expectations of a people in lieu of a government meeting constraints, the revenue constraints that we are faced with right now. Give me your view on the budget that was just presented.
I think the budget that was presented, I will give the minister a 5. Grudgingly a 5.
This is on a scale of 10.
A 10, yes.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give him a 5. 5 grudgingly, better 4. Because I do not think that look, let me tell you this. There's a lady. You have 2 minutes?
Yes, of course, you have the 2 minutes.
There's a lady from San Fernando, in Bacadere. She has 6 children. She was getting a food card for the past 2 years under the PP government. Just so she woke up one morning and they've taken back her food card. And she comes to me every fortnight for $500 to help her buy her children.
Let me beg a question of you, because I had the Minister of Social Services here, Minister Coburn, and one of the things she explained is that folks were asking to revalidate their applications, which is to say, go in and say, I am here is my circumstance, and let us look at it. Did she follow all those things?
She doesn't even know what revalidate means. She doesn't even read the papers. She has 6 children.
So that is not the feeling of the ministry, but of somebody to walk in some health center that's necessary here.
Where is your welfare officer?
I see. Okay.
Where is your welfare officer? You can't just take 13,000 people off the food cards just so.
Yeah, but the argument put forward is a lot of money, just like these ghost gangs we're talking about.
That's true.
A lot of people were getting money that they were not entitled to.
And that is very true. That's quite true, and I accept that. But I'm saying you have to be deal with it, but prudently, and you cannot do it as rushed as it was done, because it was done over a matter of a month, 6 weeks. You can't do that. And I'm saying to you, therefore, those are the people who are suffering in this country. To whom do they turn? Last Friday, a member of my constituency went to see her MP. She had applied for a house for 21 years ago. 21 years ago, she applied for a house. 21 years. Her son passed for Hillview College. She has one child, a son, for Hillview College. Living in a board shack. She's asking for help. And she was just told, I can't help you. No, if even you can't help, you can't be so callous and say, of course, you can't say, well, look, let me try. I'll come back. Give me a week. No, I just can't help you.
With your knowledge of government, when this particular lady came to you, were you able to direct her to at least, or did you make, on her behalf, an intervention to talk to somebody at the ministry to find out? I'm just curious.
I wrote a letter on her behalf.
And nothing has been done.
Sign it. I sent it down to the ministry. Nothing has been done to date. Because I can't keep giving her $500 a fortnight. Right? But that's what she's coming for. And she comes from San Fernando and Pacadilla. Yes. She takes the bus for free. She sits down in front of my office from 4 in the morning waiting for me. Go ahead, Rennie.
I'm hoping that the next time I talk to you, I hear that somebody got in touch with you, found this woman, and moved to assist her. Because welfare officers, you're quite right. We need a lot more of them. The purging of the roles, we understand, and we both in concert with
definitely.
that. However, it must be done with some element of fairness.
Definitely. You have to be more humane. And it's best you by keeping more people on it than keeping them out.
There's one area
more humane.
In reading your 5 out of 10. Let's talk about the online tax. How do you feel?
It's wrong.
That? You think it's wrong?
It's wrong.
Explain.
Because the fact is, if the merchants' goods here were cheap enough, then the online purchases would not have been as high as they are today. But because the goods here are too expensive, and therefore people are buying online, and even when they buy, a guy works in my office. He went to buy a fridge from one of the local dealers here. It was too expensive for him. He went to buy it online, and online he got the same fridge, his furniture set, and a washing machine.
So something must be done then with those who import this stuff. Something must be done to control how much.
That is correct.
Yes,
you got that source, but again you got the poor man. 7%. From time immemorial, the only people who have been taxed in this country are teachers and public servants.
You know, you're going to hear the argument that you cannot interfere with commerce in such a way as to put a cap on how much they can mark up on goods. You know, you're going to hear that argument.
I know you'll hear it.
But I know been there forever.
If we are a creative government, there are all kinds of ways you can do it.
Is it not true that one of the reasons for this online tax is a way of combating the heavy demand for foreign exchange? And if you agree with that, is it not also true that it was the Kamala SSR government that opened up the Forex avenue that caused the problem?
I don't agree with that at all.
You disagree?
The hemorrhage for foreign exchange and the big conglomerates, and I wouldn't call the names this morning, but they know who they are. A governor lost his job because he gave 4 or 5 names of those people who hemorrhage the country in foreign exchange. That's where it goes. Not the poor man who wants to save $1 or 2. That can't be right.
So those are the 2 areas we've identified so far in this 5 out of 10. Was there anything else you thought was?
I saw nothing done about job creation. I didn't say anything done about job creation. I didn't say anything done about training. You have people now walking the road with degrees and sound like crazy.
You see, when you dealt with, and I have read on you, clearly I read the Sunshine, and I have read upon you a long time. Among the many things that are identified is the question of let's take, for instance, that area, retraining. But nothing was done in the past 5 years either, and that is equally disturbing.
And that is why they're there now, because nothing was done. That's why the PP government is out. Mm-hmm. And you promised to do something. Well, for God's sake, do it.
Is 1 year sufficient time, would you say? You think that's more than enough time? I'm asking you.
It better be. I think 6 months will be enough, but it better be. If after 1 year and 2 months you can't do it, something is wrong, Rennie. Rennie, something is wrong. We must not become, I don't mean you, by the way, but we must not become apologists for anybody's inefficiency. Must not be.
Yes, we try very hard just to make sure that we throw the questions out and get the information coming back to us. The one thing I have to do, I know you don't go around doing interviews very often, and I'm truly privileged and very happy.
I really don't, and this is an exception.
Yes, I thank you very much. We are fortunate to have you here, and I can just wish you the best. We will keep watching the situation on that. Jack Warner taking the time to be with us this morning. The one thing somebody said to me when I walked in this morning, because Heather too, I did not mention that Mr. Warner will be in the studio. And the minute I mentioned it, they said, "Oh, the straight shooter." The folk hero, because you are a straight shooter.
I can't change.
And I appreciate
that.
With
me, what you see is what you get.
You agree or you don't disagree, or you don't agree. The bottom line is I am me.
That's correct.
Jack Warner, thank you again so much for taking the time to be with us.